This is a big release. We have, in the past year or so, maybe a little bit longer, we changed how we're doing our cloud backups with this brand new super fast engine. And now it's time to put that same engine that we're using for cloud and use it for all the local stuff. With that, we're getting a lot of new features, functions, and especially speed in our testing. We're seeing 30+% faster backups when we're backing up entire data sets, and the incremental backups, the backups after that are super fast too. So it's one of those where there is a noticeable difference, especially when you're going to like network devices. It is a large speed increase that you will notice. And especially on the restores are so much faster than the previous version of the software. So one of the things that has been a big bother and kind of a huge pain is having to set up full backup, incremental backup, differential backups, and then having to set up another retention job for all of those. We're getting rid of that. So there no longer is this function of a full backup, incremental backup, differential backup when you're doing a normal local file level backup anymore. It's going to be an incremental forever, meaning it's going to know, hey, I need to back up all this data in the initial one, and then every subsequent backup, it's going to back up just the new and changed files. In the settings of that actual backup job, you set how long you want to retain data. You don't have to create another backup job. You don't need to schedule anything else. So things that would have taken at least 3 different jobs to schedule, you have one job now. Along with that, you're saying, well, if you're doing incremental forever, how are you dealing with rotational media such as USB drives, RDX, and all that other stuff? The only way to reliably do that is that we do have to keep a full backup or an entire backup of what you're backing up to that media itself. And then from that point forward, it's going to know that that media is inserted in whether it's USB, RDX, what have you, and it's going to do just the incremental changes from whatever your last backup was on that piece of media. So it is going to retain data on that piece of media and keep it distinct on that piece of media if you're doing rotational media for local backups. So it is seamless. You don't have to name media or anything like that. It just knows that, okay, hey, this is what I last backed up to this, and this is what files are on there or applications or what have you, and what I need to go from that point forward. This is NovaBACKUP. It doesn't look that much different. One of the things that does look different, if you go to the device tab, you don't see all the local devices anymore. You have to specifically set them up. So if I set up a local device, I'll go to local backup here. You set up your device name, drive and folder path. This can be UNC path. It can be, just a folder in there. The network credentials are built in right here. So if you're going to a UNC path like a NAS device and you need to put credentials in, you can put it right there. And the encryption is actually built into the device too. So when you're actually backing up to this device, it'll be encrypted when you don't have to set that up in the job at all. It's actually part of the device when you're backing up to it. Speaking of backups, if I go up to the backup job here, normal things, that's the tree view, backup to, hey, there's that one device I have already set up. And then I go to the settings. This is that maximum backup age. So you don't have to create separate backup jobs. Notice there's no options for full, incremental, differential here. It's just going to know that, hey, I need to do an entire backup of that, etc. And this is going to be at the end of every backup job. It checks to make sure if there's stuff that needs to be retented out of that particular backup job. And the interesting thing is, it doesn't have to remove entire backup files, because since each backup file could contain files that you need for further restores, it's going to remove parts of backup files within the actual archive itself. So it's pretty cool that way, and it keeps everything compacted that way. This was one that we worked on quite a bit. With the current version that's live in the world right now, today, when you do like a full backup and incremental differential, you have to basically restore the full, then restore the incremental or differential, and do all this different restores, and you're not going to see all of the data all in one location. of like how that backup looked like or that folder looked like when you did the backup. You have to piece all these together in order to do that. And what we've done is basically, I'm going to call it a point in time restore. And this is kind of where we're going with this. And functionality, it's working great right now. Basically combines all of the backups, whether or not it's a full backup that had been done a month ago, and all of the incrementals from that, since it's an incremental forever, and it's going to give you a point in time view from whatever backup it needs to on that device in order to recover what you're trying to recover at that point in time. If I go to the restore view again, this is my initial backup. I just backed up this particular folder, and I was just putting new files in here. So it was doing that. So if I go to say here, it's going to give me a full view of how that machine, this folder looked like at that time. And then I started removing folders and files out of here, was just testing how some of the retention works. So you can see that, hey, even though that data is still there and we're still restorable, this is how this folder looked like at that point in time when I did that backup. So it is really a point in time view of how that protected data looked like at that time, even though that data might not have been backed up during that particular backup.